Alright everybody, if you grab your scissors and dominate your opponents, you will become the master and ruler of the world. I'm John Retha with every Sid Vicious WWE and WCW pay-per-view match, ranked from worst to best, part 1. And the reason you will become the master and ruler of the world is you recognize when we're live, pal, and also he has half the brain that you do. Sid's promos rarely made sense, and even when they kind of made sense, you believed what he said. I'm just not sure if he understood what he fucking said. And he was an intelligent guy, except for the Arn Anderson scissoring incident and the fact that he loved to play softball, and he should have been more committed to wrestling because he had the perfect look for wrestling. Whether he was Sid Vicious, Psycho Sid, Sid Justice, Lord Humongous, take that last one, curl it into a ball, and throw it out of your memory banks. He had the perfect look for wrestling, and with the right opponent, he could create some pretty damn good matches. There are going to be a few on this, but since it's the worst to best list, yeah, there's going to be a lot of shit we have to slog through. But Sid was always fun to watch. But goddamn, he really was fucking psycho, and that Arn stuff is really hard to overlook. That's why you don't mix drinking and weapons with wrestlers, or really with anybody, but especially with wrestlers on an overseas tour. So, number 35, versus Scott Steiner, versus Jeff Jarrett, versus Road Warrior Animal, a returning Road Warrior Animal, 4-way for the WCW title at WCW Sin 2001. The leg break, that's all I'm going to say about that. Check out my Sin review if you want to see more, and hear my full thoughts. But all I'm going to say, to finish this up, is I rewatched from the reboot episode all the way to the end, and goddamn, the build-up for this, seeing Road Warrior Animal dressed as a dollar store Jason Voorhees, fucking hilarious and just stupid. Sad that WCW couldn't hit the reset button soon enough. Anyway, we go to number 34, versus Van Hammer, WCW Slamboree 1993. Sid's return to WCW, and he beat him in 35 seconds. Heavy Metal Van Hammer entertained a young version of me, just because, whatever. He was a big-haired guy that, was heavy metal. He was cool. Also liked the Ultimate Warrior back at this time, so where my taste lied. So anyway, by the way, check out my Ultimate Warrior list if you really want to hear me go fucking off. So, we go number 33, versus Nash in a Powerbomb match at Starrcade in 1999. Okay, so nobody in WCW apparently saw what Nash and Sid did, or rather didn't do, in their series of pay-per-view matches in 1995. So they thought, hey, these guys have more injuries. They don't care anymore, especially Nash. Let's just have them have a powerbomb match. Oh, wait, it's shit. And Vince Russo's booking, so let's just overbook this like crazy. Sid actually wins, but the ref's down. Big fracas. And then Nash ends up telling the referee, oh, by the way, I powerbombed him. And the ref's like, oh, okay, and rings. Yeah, stupid. Really stupid. Not even the worst thing that happened on the show, though. That was Goldberg kicking Bret Hart in the goddamn head with a fucking mule kick. Good job, Goldberg, you fucking klutz. Bret Hart's career ended by a goddamn kick from a guy that was basically a Clydesdale horse. So anyway, alright. Let's get on with that. Yeah, powerbomb match. Pretty fucking stupid. So we get to number 32. Versus Elegante, Great American Bash 1991. It was a stretcher match. And I didn't even know her. This was bad. Really bad. Elegante was tall. That was it. Apparently nice guy. Wasn't cut out for wrestling. And this was Sid's last WCW appearance, where he would go to WWE for about a year and then would come back to WCW about just under 2 years later. It was a stretcher match in 1991 during the Jim Herd era. Bad. Really bad. We want Flair. We want Flair. Those are the cheers, or the chants said during part of this show. Anyway, we go to number 31, Triple Crown King of the Hill 2-Ring Battle Royal, Great American Bash 1989. This is when he was teaming with Dan Spivey, the noted idiot that couldn't really do anything, yet always got injured. Waylon Mercy himself, the future Waylon Mercy. Yeah, the Skyscrapers won it. Not much of note here. If you see it on the network, they did, well, I mean, it was be on Peacock. It was like presented in the most complete form possible due to like original difficulties. But yeah, 2-Ring Battle Royal with a bunch of like good talent, but a bunch of guys where it's like, okay, let's just bounce off of these guys, and these guys win, and that's it. Anyway, and by the way, of course, Teddy Long was their manager because holla, 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 tag team match playa. And when we go number 30, versus Jarrett versus Hall, WCW title, Super Brawl 2000. Hall's last WCW match, at least on pay-per-view. Actually, I think it might have been his last official match. And it wasn't bad. It was a little bit better than the Powerbomb match, but then again, I could have shat something out that was better than that. But still, it was kind of messy. It was rushed. It was Hall very diminished. It was Jarrett trying to be, the world champ, become the world champion. The whole Jarrett reign of terror. He become a three-time chosen one of Jeff Jarrett. I've never understood how they got along. Maybe they bonded over the Invisible Man in the sky. Of course, I obviously mean I don't know. Maybe Claude Rains is up there, doing the stuff, and he's taking the tape off of him. And what am I even on about anymore? This was not a bad match for the first couple minutes, but it actually got really sloppy afterwards. And that's actually the sad thing to see Hall like this. Sid in his longest WCW title run, the longest WCW title run, by the way, of the year 2000. Unfortunately, Super Brawl 2000 was snakebit. It wasn't as bad as Hogan versus Luger, but it wasn't a main event, so that's why I'm putting it on here. So anyway, we go to number 29, which is actually going to be a bit of cheating because I'm putting two matches together because I couldn't distinguish which one was better or worse. Versus Goldberg at Halloween Havoc 1999 for the U.S. title, and versus him at Mayhem and I Quit match, referee stoppage because Sid couldn't respond. Neither of these matches were good. Goldberg versus Sid actually should have been good, or at least adequate, and it wasn't. It was a real clash of styles and wasn't very good. So we get to number 28 with the 1-2-3 Kid versus Mari Jannetty and Razor Ramon in Your House 5, and I retro-reviewed this. You can check that out. In Your House 5 wasn't great. Bulldog versus Brett was the best thing, but yeah, this was, not good. Not good at all. This was really, like, this is when I think Sid just ended up leaving 1-2-3 Kids like, well, what the fuck, I'm done. I'm fucking done. Sid wasn't even around all that much longer after this. He would come back in like later 96 to replace the Ultimate Warrior. Pretty bad when Sid is the better replacement, but Sid at least could work somewhat with the right guy. Ultimate Warrior never fucking could. And by the way, just once again, fuck the Ultimate Warrior. I'm glad he's dead. Yep, typical tag match, though. At least 95, the end of 95, they were starting to turn things around pay-per-view wise. So then we go to number 27 versus Diesel for the WWE title Lumberjack match at In Your House 2. Oh dear. Not good. Not good. The Lumberjack stipulation and just a lot of sloppiness, and Nash was hurt, and Sid working with a big guy like this, it was a bad clash of styles. It did not work. It did not work at all. It was really bad. Go check this out if you want to see just two guys kind of klutz it up in the goddamn ring. And neither guy was really motivated to do anything, and it showed. We go number 26 versus Henry O. Godwin. Hog. Get it? Hog. It's good, such good shit, pal. At In Your House 3, which also wasn't very good. Look, it wasn't going to be like setting the world on fire, and I don't think anybody really expected it to, but the Godwin gimmick was just a little bit bad, comical, even though Hillbilly Jim as their manager was pretty nice, because always good to see Hillbilly Jim. Legend has it his Hall of Fame speech is still going on, and I mean, I guess parts of it were okay, but it was just a match. It was just there, and neither of these guys could really do the other guy's shit. They had to work with somebody that had better chemistry with them, and it just didn't work. Then we go to number 25 with Sean Ahmed Johnson Bulldog versus, British Bulldog, that is, not the Ahmed Bulldog, even though he got about the size of a fucking bulldog litter by the end of WCW, if you know, you know. And they took on Yokozuna, speaking of big, Owen Hart, Razor Ramon, Dean Douglas, Survivor Series 95, Wildcard Bitches. Yeah, it was a wildcard match where they took good friends, better enemies. Wait, that's another match a little bit later. And they basically just, took these guys that have been feuding and put them on teams, and didn't exactly work. This is when they were trying new things with Survivor Series to juice things up, and I don't know. There were elements that were okay, but Sid had been feuding with Sean, and Bulldog was going to have a series of matches with Sean at some point, and not all that great. Just really wasn't. Just really wasn't. Things will get a little bit better after this soon. I promise. I fucking promise. Anyway, versus Diesel. So, for number 24 for the WWE title, In Your House 1. This was a little bit better than the Lumberjack match, but that's not saying much because, again, I could have shat something out a little bit better than the Lumberjack match. This was not the best, not the best representation of what these guys could do. Nash had injuries, and Sid could work with Sean. I mean, he did some good stuff with Sean, as I'll talk about later in this list. But everything else, like this, was just another one. It was a little bit better, but it wasn't that much better. The Lumberjack stipulation kind of wrecked what little bit they could do. And it did lead to some meme-worthy shit that Sid could do, like the expressions that he had when Nash was countering his stuff. But other than that, not really much of anything. So, we then have, at number 23 versus Jeff Jarrett, WCW title, Uncensored 2000. Yeah. More overbooked nonsense. Just a bit better than Hall versus Jarrett because at least it was one-on-one. They had to overbook it like crazy. They had to have people run in. They had to have this stuff. And Sid would retain the championship and then would have it stripped from him on that reboot episode and then not show up for like 7 goddamn months. No, really, he took time off, either due to injuries or softball, because it was always softball season. But him and Jarrett, it wasn't the worst thing. But Jarrett was always a mid-card guy. He was never a world champion, so I didn't really care much for this one. It was what it was. And then we go number 22 versus Undertaker, WWE title Mania 13. The infamous match where he apparently shit himself. Sid, not Taker. Taker only shit himself when somebody told him that the guy that he donated money to didn't win the election after an insurrection attempt. Oh, I wonder what Taker thought of that. Hanging on to his career for too goddamn long and basically pretty much torpedoing his legacy. Back to Sid. He was a champion here. He was a 2-time champion at this point. And yeah, this is supposed to be Bret versus Shawn, but Shawn lost his smile and had his pussyfoot injury and then had to go home and find it, according to Bret Hart. But it was too big, man. It was like there was some okay stuff. Bret interfered, and then Sid got beat, and Taker got the victory, but it was cool that Taker won the championship, but there really wasn't all that much to it. Like, it was like kind of... And Taker would end up having a pretty good run after this and lose it to Bret in a terrific match at SummerSlam 97, and by then, Sid was well out of the company. But yeah, hey, at least Sid got to main event he got to main event 2 Manias. In fact, his only 2 Mania appearances in the ring were in main events. Pretty good accolade for a guy that looked like that, but really didn't know how to cut promos. Again, we're live, pal. So yeah, not the greatest ending to WrestleMania 13. They had Bret versus Austin in a show-stealing match. I would say a match that stole 1997, maybe in WWE, but WCW just had better action. The DDP Savage trilogy, and also Ray versus Eddie. Yes, that match. Inject that into my veins. So number 21, with Savage versus Nash and Sting. Tag match for the WCW title, Bash at the Beach 99. I talked about this on the Randy Savage Part 1 list, and yeah, it was a tag match where Sting could pin his tag partner and win. That was fucking stupid. Really, really fucking stupid. Really, really stupid. And Sid would end up helping Savage win when Sid could have easily won. Bit weird that. Number 20 versus Scott Steiner, Starrcade 2000 WCW title. They built this up at the Monumental Clash. I gotta say these guys did a bit of good stuff, but it was, of course, overbooked. Like, it didn't make Sid look necessarily weak, but it kind of made him look stupid that, Steiner couldn't really slap on the Steiner recliner because his back was weakened. And I mean just from all the HGH and the roids and shit that he did. And he couldn't really do anything, so Sid was like, he just eventually had to pass out from the pain, and then they would do the rematch and the infamous leg break at WCW 2000, or Sin 2001. Oh god, that match is still haunting me. Starrcade 2000, of course, was the last Starrcade because WCW wouldn't even make it close to 2001 in December before being sold. And it had some okay moments, but watching the TV, Sid made that return and was going to take out Scott Steiner, and then by this point, after this, you're like, okay, do I really want to see these two fight again? Not really. So, we then go to number 19 versus Vader, contenders match, In Your House 10. And after Vader had been completely neutered by Shawn Michaels, thanks, Shawn, you fucking, lazy-eyed prick. Of course, he wasn't lazy at the time. He just, had his boyhood dream, but didn't want to deal with the man that trained him. Like Jose Lothario was going to take the steam out of Shawn Michaels. So yeah, after Vader had been neutered, Sid attacked Vader at the end of the Mankind Shawn Michaels match at In Your House Mind Games, which was terrific, and I may have to actually rewatch that at some point. And they had a match, I believe it was a dark match on that pay-per-view, because the In Your House pay-per-views were, shorter shows for a cheaper price, until they realized that they could make more money, and then they just decided, fuck, add another match and charge full price. It's such good shit, pal. They had a match the next month, and the winner would face off against Shawn, and Sid working with Shawn. I mean, Vader should have won the championship. A few years ago, I booked Vader's first year in WWE, and I actually would have given him the championship and done some good stuff. But anyway, Sid winning was kind of cool and would lead to a pretty damn good match that may be featured somewhere on this list, but maybe not in this part, or maybe you have to wait to find out. We're finishing up here in just a few matches. So, number 18 versus the Road Warriors, a Halloween Havoc, 1989. Obviously, it wasn't just Sid versus the Road Warriors, hilarious as that would have been. Nope, he was teaming with Dan Spivey, and there we go. That's pretty much it right there. There was really nothing to this. So it was all these power guys. Well, it was 3 power guys and Dan Spivey who looked like shit and couldn't do anything. And Sid was the star of the group. So that's about it. Number 17, with Bam Bam versus Sid and Tatanka. King of the Ring, 1995. Had its moments, but $1 Million Corporation, all that. Bam Bam, I think his last pay-per-view appearance for WWE. I don't think he did all that much after this. Because I don't remember him being around much later. No, that's not true, actually. He wrestled Goldust a little bit later in the year. Then he was out of the company by late 95, early 96. And it's a shame because I think Bam Bam had a lot more to give to the company. But Bam Bam, Sid, and Tatanka, yeah, they could only do so much with Nash, and Nash could only do so much with them. And at least it hid the fact that Sid and that Sid and Tatanka didn't really care. At this point, Tatanka was motivated. Sid could only... It was a mess. It was really a mess. So anyway, number 16 versus Brett, WWE title in your house 12. And I gotta say that I actually really enjoyed this match. Yes, you had some interference, you had some bullshit and stuff like that, but Brett had beaten Steve Austin at Survivor Series 96. Sid had beaten Shawn at Survivor Series 96. And here was this clash. Good stuff. I really enjoyed this match and thought it was one of the better matches these guys ended up having. And then they would actually have a rematch just before WrestleMania 13, where Brett would lose and then would say, frustrated, doesn't begin to goddamn describe it, this is bullshit. And they still, because Brett could get a lot out of, big guys that couldn't really do much. I mean, he got a lot out of Yokozuna, and he got a lot out of Undertaker, even though Undertaker could do more shit. And he played to Sid's strengths, and Sid did enough of Brett's shit where it was a good clash, even with the goofiness and the interference. So we go to number 15 to finish up this goddamn list, or at least this part of the list, and then, go for the next part. With LOD versus Bulldog, Owen and Neidhart, the Hart Foundation, King of the Ring 97. Sid's last WWE pay-per-view appearance. Hey, Sid with the LOD was actually pretty goddamn cool to see. Though Sid would end up, having a neck injury or whatever it was that would write him out of the company. He's making a whole lot of money, and by that point, he just wasn't as committed. And LOD at this point, they were a shell of what they were, and they also weren't booked all that great, so they couldn't be motivated. Nobody was really motivated to do anything, though the Hart Foundation were pretty hot at this point. Not like a Canadian Stampede the next month. Holy fucking shit, that was a great goddamn show. But this match definitely started to, swing more in an upward direction, where in part 2, I will be a lot more positive. So that's where I'm going to leave that off. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Rethlin. I'll see you soon.